In today's story, something bizarre happens. Entire forests suddenly appear overnight, covering cities and even growing inside people's homes. What's causing this strange phenomenon? That's exactly what we'll explore together. Before we get into the plot, here's a quick recap for those unfamiliar with the show. Doctor Who follows the adventures of the Doctor, an alien who resembles a human. He travels through time and space in a machine called the TARDIS, which from the outside looks like an old-fashioned police telephone box. But don't be fooled. This machine can take you anywhere in the universe at any point in time. So today's story kicks off with something quite unexpected. The Doctor's time-traveling spaceship, the TARDIS, lands smack in the middle of a dense forest. That's strange, because the Doctor was aiming for London. While trying to make sense of this, a young girl appears, clearly lost and wandering through the trees. She stumbles upon the TARDIS and knocks on its door. The Doctor answers and she pleads for help, telling him she's lost. Initially, the Doctor brushes her off and tells her to head in another direction, but then he pauses, noticing something odd. The entire area is surrounded by trees. Curious, he opens the door again. He's shocked. This was supposed to be a busy city street, not a forest. The girl, now visibly frightened, insists that someone is following her and begs to be let inside. The Doctor, now sensing the seriousness of the situation, allows her in. Inside the TARDIS, which functions as both the Doctor's lab and home, the girl begins to explain. She says that before she got lost, she thought she heard her teacher's voice, Miss Clara, telling her to find the Doctor, but she admits it might have just been in her head. Now here's something important. Miss Clara isn't just her teacher, she's also the Doctor's trusted companion, and when she's not helping him on his adventures, she's teaching full-time at school. The Doctor then tries to figure out what went wrong with the TARDIS. According to him, the ship should have landed in London. He tries entering the coordinates again and again, but every time the TARDIS insists that they've already reached their destination, London. The Doctor, clearly irritated, believes the TARDIS is malfunctioning. But then the girl calmly says, the machine is actually right. We are in London. She takes the Doctor outside and points to a sign, Mahatma Gandhi Road. The Doctor is stunned. This really is London. But instead of concrete and skyscrapers, it's all trees. An entire forest has taken over the city, and it doesn't stop there. Soon we see that this isn't limited to London. Across the globe, cities have been swallowed by sudden massive forests. Trees are growing through buildings, bursting out of roads, and vines are creeping over cars and traffic lights. The entire Earth has transformed into a green wilderness overnight. Panic spreads. The news is flooded with coverage. No one can explain how, why, or when this happened. Scientists are baffled. Governments are scrambling. And the Doctor? Well, he knows something bigger is at play, and it's time to find out what. In another part of the city, we see a group of school children who had gone on an overnight trip to the museum. They were with two teachers, Clara and her boyfriend Danny. Among the kids was a girl named Maebh, who had gotten separated from the group and ended up meeting the Doctor in the forest. The next morning, Clara, Danny, and the kids leave the museum to head home. But as soon as they step outside, they're shocked. Huge forests have grown all over the city in just one night. It's the same everywhere. Trees and plants have taken over roads, buildings, and entire neighborhoods. At that moment, the Doctor calls Clara and tells her that Maebh, one of her students, is with him. Clara didn't even know she was missing. The Doctor tells her that his TARDIS is parked on Mahatma Gandhi Road and asks them to come there to pick Maebh up. So Clara, Danny, and the kids start walking through the forest to reach the Doctor. Meanwhile, the Doctor steps out of the TARDIS with Maebh and begins scanning the environment. He finds the sudden growth of the forest very unusual, so he checks the air for any signals or strange activity. He thinks the trees might be sending messages to each other somehow, but even after checking, he can't find any signs of communication. As Clara and the others walk through the forest, she seems excited. For her, it feels like a new adventure. But Danny is worried. He's focused on keeping the children safe. The trees have blocked all the roads, and it's hard to find a clear path. He's also concerned that wild animals might be hiding in the forest. Eventually, they reach the Doctor and meet him outside the TARDIS. The Doctor shares his theory. He believes the trees are connected somehow and are working together. He starts to wonder if something like this has happened before in history. Maybe someone planted special seeds hundreds of years ago, and now with a twist in time, these trees have suddenly appeared all at once. To pull off something this big, the trees would have to be communicating with each other. The Doctor tries to pick up that communication again, hoping it will help him figure out what's really going on. Everyone enters the TARDIS, but in the middle of all the confusion, no one notices that Maebh, the girl who was with the Doctor, quietly slips away into the forest. She runs off while everyone is distracted. Inside the TARDIS, the Doctor starts scanning the universe for any unusual signals. He's convinced that what's happening on Earth isn't just a natural event. He believes someone or something is behind it, and he's trying to figure out who. As he continues his search, he checks the sun and notices some strange activity, like solar flares, which could be connected to the sudden appearance of the forest. Then the Doctor comes across across some school notebooks lying around in the TARDIS. These were the students' homework assignments, and all of them belonged to Maebh. Curious, he flips through them and finds drawings she had made earlier. In one picture, she drew trees and forests. In another, there are beams coming from the sun. This makes the Doctor suspicious. He realizes Maebh might have known about this event before it even happened. Maybe these drawings weren't just imagination, maybe they were warnings. Clara explains that Maebh has been going through a lot lately. Her younger sister Annabelle went missing 6 months ago, and since then, Maebh has been deeply affected. She often says she hears strange voices or sounds in her head, and those voices are what inspired her drawings. Hearing this, the Doctor begins to think that Maebh might have a special ability, something that allows her to tune into signals or frequencies that regular people can't detect. He believes she's somehow connected to the force behind the forest's sudden growth, and that she might even be able to lead them to the source of it all. So the Doctor and Clara decide to go find her. But as they begin their search, the forest becomes more dangerous. Huge tree trunks and branches start falling around them, like the forest is trying to stop them from getting to Maebh. Meanwhile, Danny contacts Maev's mother and informs her that her daughter has gone missing. Worried and heartbroken, she immediately heads into the forest herself, determined to find Maebh. Back in the forest, the Doctor is trying to track Maebh using her phone's signal and his advanced tool. But when he reaches the location, he only finds the phone lying on the ground. Maebh is nowhere in sight. We then see Maebh running through the forest in a strange, hurried way. She's leaving small items like clues behind her, perhaps to help someone follow her trail. At one point, she drops her lunchbox and runs off in another direction after spotting a group of people in protective suits. Frightened by their presence, she quickly changes course and runs away. As the Doctor and Clara continue searching, they come across these same people. It turns out they're trying to burn down parts of the forest using flamethrowers, but something strange happens. No matter how much they try, the trees refuse to burn. The Doctor explains that the trees are absorbing the oxygen around them, which prevents the flames from spreading. It's as if nature itself is defending the forest. The Doctor tells Clara that something very unusual is happening, something powerful enough to disturb the natural balance of the Earth and the entire universe. He then shows Clara one of Maev's drawings from her notebook. It shows deadly rays from the sun hitting the Earth, destroying everything. The Doctor realizes that this isn't just a random drawing. Maebh somehow predicted a real disaster. He tells Clara that he recently scanned the sun and discovered a massive solar flare heading directly toward Earth. It's powerful enough to wipe out the entire planet, and it's going to hit today. The situation is critical. If something doesn't stop that solar flare, Earth and everything on it could be gone within hours. Hurt even more is the fact that Maebh somehow knew about this disaster in advance. She asks the Doctor how that's even possible. The Doctor admits that not even his high-tech equipment picked up anything unusual before, but Maebh already sensed it. He begins to wonder if Maebh can somehow understand the deeper language of the universe, something beyond what humans or machines can detect. Soon after, they manage to find Maebh again, but just as they reach her, a lion suddenly appears, ready to attack. Before it can get close, Danny arrives just in time and scares it away by shining a bright light. Everyone is safe for now. Maebh, however, starts behaving strangely. The effects of her medication are wearing off, and she begins waving her hands and making unusual movements as if trying to push something away. The Doctor gently asks what she's doing. Maebh explains that she hears people's thoughts all the time, and recently she's been hearing voices of mysterious beings who talked about creating this forest. According to her, they were the ones responsible for making it grow overnight, but she doesn't know who or what these beings are. She can still hear them though, and she's trying to drive them away. Curious, the Doctor sets up a small gravitational field around her, and something incredible happens. Glowing, fairy-like creatures appear in front of them, tiny, mystical beings that float in the air like flickering lights. They look like fairies, but the Doctor realizes they're actually a unique kind of ancient insect. Maebh had been hearing their voices all along. The Doctor asks them who they are, and the creatures respond, "We are the Ancient Ones. We were here long before humans arrived, and we will remain long after they're gone." They reveal that they are the ones who created the forest overnight, not for the first time, but many times throughout Earth's history. They say that whenever humanity faces danger, whether it's war or disaster, they rise up and grow forests overnight to protect the planet. It's happened before, and it's happening again now. The Doctor listens carefully as they explain that humans always forget. Even the massive forest that once appeared in the north overnight has faded from memory. The Doctor then turns to the glowing creatures and asks, "Why do you want to destroy the universe?" But they calmly respond, "Not us. us, it's the sun. It is both the creator and the destroyer. We only follow the natural order. Curious, the doctor asks another question. You sent Maebh to find me. Is that because I'm supposed to stop what's coming? But the creatures say, we didn't send her. The girl came on her own. Then suddenly they say something unexpected. Set us free. We're in pain. Hearing this, the doctor gently disables the field around them, and as soon as he does, the glowing creatures vanish into thin air. Still puzzled, the doctor turns to Maebh and asks, who told you to come to me? Was I meant to stop this from happening? Maebh replies, I once asked my teacher, Miss Clara, about who to go to in an emergency, and she said, if there's danger, go to the doctor. So I came to find you. Now the doctor becomes deeply worried. The massive solar flare is getting closer, and he knows that he can't stop it. Not this time. Clara tries to remain hopeful. She reminds the doctor that they visited the future many times, and Earth was still there. This can't be the end, she says, but the doctor isn't so sure. He explains that time doesn't follow a fixed path. Anything can happen at any moment. He tells Clara that today might be the day Earth's timeline ends. The sudden appearance of the forest, the strange creatures, everything, they're all signs that something enormous is about to happen. And this time, there may be no tomorrow. The mood turns heavy. Everyone is tense, afraid of what's coming. The doctor looks at Clara and says, we can't save the whole planet, but we can save what we can. I'll take you, Danny, and the children into the TARDIS. You can all survive. But Clara doesn't agree. She asks, what's the point of saving the children if Earth is destroyed? Their parents won't be there. Where will you take them? What kind of life will they have without their families? She tells him it's better to leave the kids on Earth, where they at least have a chance to be reunited with their loved ones. The doctor then asks Clara and Danny to come with him, but Clara refuses. She says, Danny won't leave the children behind, and I won't either. I don't want to be the last person alive. I'm staying too. As the countdown to the deadly solar flare draws closer, everyone prepares for the worst. The doctor, deeply saddened, gets ready to leave. Before stepping away, he says goodbye to Maebh. With a heavy heart, he apologizes, saying he couldn't save the world. But Maebh, smiling, tells him that he did help her. For the first time in a long while, she no longer hears the overwhelming voices in her head. She feels calm, at peace, and truly happy. Grateful, she thanks the doctor. Then she and the others say their goodbyes and head off to reunite with their families, leaving the doctor alone with his thoughts. Back in the TARDIS, the doctor sits quietly, lost in reflection. His mind keeps circling around one strange fact. Why were the newly grown trees completely fireproof? Why couldn't they burn? That's when it hits him. He looks at the solar flare readings again and realizes something astonishing. The energy from the flare is equivalent to thousands of atomic bombs. If it hits Earth directly, the result would be total destruction. But what if the trees aren't here by accident? Suddenly, everything makes sense. These trees, which grew all over the world overnight, aren't a threat. They're a shield. The Earth isn't being attacked. It's being protected. The doctor quickly rushes to call the children and their teachers back into the TARDIS. Once they're inside, he excitedly explains everything to them. He tells them that the glowing creatures, the ancient beings Maebh could hear, weren't just saving her, they were saving everyone. They've done this before. In fact, Earth has faced similar disasters in the past, like the mysterious 1908 Tunguska explosion in Russia, or strange events near the Curaçao River in Brazil. Incidents that could have thrown the entire planet off its axis or torn apart the Earth's delicate structure. And yet the Earth survived. Why? Because just before those disasters, forests suddenly appeared, just like now. Those trees absorbed the shock, protected the surface, and prevented global catastrophe. Humanity over time simply forgot, but the ancient creatures never did. Today, it's happening again. The massive solar flare isn't the end. The trees are the Earth's armor, absorbing oxygen, thickening the atmosphere, and creating a natural barrier strong enough to take the full force of the flare. The doctor looks around and says with a sense of wonder, the forest didn't come to destroy us, it came to save us. The magical insects, through Maebh, had tried to warn them, and in the end, their silent efforts may have saved the entire planet. Hearing the truth about the trees, everyone feels relieved. But then the children inform the doctor that the US government is planning to spray acid to destroy the forests. Realizing the danger, the doctor quickly hacks into the global mobile network. The students write an emergency message, and Maebh sends it out across the world, urging people not to harm the trees. She explains that the forests are here to protect us, not hurt us. Before ending the message, Maebh makes one heartfelt request. She calls out to her missing sister Annabelle, asking her to come back. Just Just then, Maeb's mother arrives at the TARDIS, and Maebh runs out to hug her. Seeing this, the other children start thinking about their families and insist on going home. Danny and Clara begin escorting them back, but Danny encourages Clara to stay with the Doctor. He knows how fascinated she is by this once-in-a-lifetime event. Later, the Doctor and Clara watch from space as the massive solar flare hits Earth. But just as predicted, the trees absorb the impact, saving the planet. Moments later, the forests vanish as mysteriously as they appeared. The Doctor tells Clara that, like always, humanity will eventually forget this miracle. But the memory will live on, maybe as myths or fairy tales passed down through generations. In the final scene, Maebh, now peaceful and happy, returns home. And to her joy, she finds her sister Annabelle waiting for her outside the house. And with that, the story ends on a beautiful, heartwarming note. See you in the next video. Bye.